So here we are, guys. We have a Jugal with us, co-founder and CEO of Refold AI. Jugal, welcome to SimplAI Podcast,
Thank you, Sandeep.
focused on enterprises adoption. Uh, so why don't you, just talk about yourself, what you are doing, and where are you in the journey, and how you are making things in production and making enterprises happy.
Yeah, no, happy to introduce. So I'm Jugal, founder and CEO of Refold AI. We have been building Refold for past 3 years. It's an integration delivery platform for enterprise systems like SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, Workday. So today, software spent, let's say, $1 on, on buying a new software. Enterprises probably end up spending $5 to $7 on just building integrations. Or so,
So why you're different? I mean, just
yeah,
tell us because it's a problem we are also facing, right,
yeah.
from an integration perspective.
Yeah. So essentially, the platform that we designed is leveraging the power of agents and language models underneath it. So language models write, think, and write in code, and they essentially are able to mimic what is in the brain of, let's say, an SAP consultant, an Oracle consultant, how they build integrations. Agents can be trained on, and they can deliver the same thing. So essentially, we provide the entire harness around integrations that can be deployed.
Great. So you guys having the agentic systems around with that's like whatever the problem, let's say from the integration perspective, and these agents and start learning on their own for the the problems that you are facing, and then doing that harness and autonomous learning for your
Yes.
customer that you are deploying. Is that the right
Yeah, yeah,
understanding?
yeah. And one way to think about it is like in enterprises, integrations are very brittle.
Right.
So schema models constantly change, business logic changes.
Correct.
So what happens is if there is a small change in schema model or data model, that needs to be propagated to all downstream systems. There are multiple layers of systems where it needs to flow. So the systems that we have built are self-healing, where agents can automatically detect that change, deploy it into multiple systems without a human needing to be intervene at any point.
And then what level you guys achieved this largely within the organization, or maybe if you can put it your
Yeah.
the team structure, because it seems like you have a great adoption within the Refold.
Yeah. So primarily, we work with larger enterprises, and they come with multiple systems. The metric that we track internally is time to build and deploy integrations. That's the most important metric. So typically, it takes 6 to 8 months to build these complex integrations where consultants are involved. A lot of manpower goes into
Before agentic you're talking about.
before without agents.
Okay, got
That's
it.
how the
Yeah.
process today works. There are human beings writing these integrations, but we believe integrations should not be built by human. They should only be governed by human beings. So the integrated agents could do the same thing probably in a week's time, and a human driver or pilot could actually operate this and sort of like build this.
Yeah. So, I mean, that got me another question.
Yeah,
You said deployment, right?
yeah,
So, how the enterprise is behaving? Why this they just don't come to, hey, I need the integration. You see
yeah,
a lot of MCPs out
yeah,
there. A
yeah,
lot of integration companies is like
yeah.
just they're giving let's say a bunch of integrations.
Correct,
You plug in from there and start building
correct.
like white coding and all. What are your thought? Is it a different from them, or you are providing both of them, or what really enterprises look from this lens?
So essentially, when it comes to enterprises, a lot of times these systems are behind the firewall. They are maybe on like air gapped systems. They are sometimes in multiple different regions where there are data residency issues. So one part of the problem is to be able to connect to these systems or to deploy the entire platform reliably onto their private clouds, to access the data on their private clouds, and then build integrations or then build the logic or code around integrations.
So that lead it to another, because largely the enterprises are especially for this kind of heterogeneous and complex systems, and especially the multi-geographical presence, largely. So you provide platform, and how about the adoption of it? So you gives the FDs also. to help them, or is just that you say that, hey, you can work with them? How because they largely care about their problems.
Yeah. No, absolutely. For enterprise, support is also very critical. Like no enterprise would buy. I mean, there are a lot of open source technology, open source platforms out there. The problem is they don't really work when it comes to basically building reliable systems. So we do have forward deployed engineers that can go align with internal teams, understand their models, and then train the platform on those systems. And that's how we are seeing the increasing adoption of the platform. So when we combine the forward deployed support with the platform, essentially the adoption starts.
And enterprises demand this explicitly.
Yeah. I mean, no questions asked. I think every enterprise today looks for I mean, the world is getting so noisy right now. There are so many platforms. Building is not that hard. So what has remained probably is that trust, and the ability to maybe just pick up the phone and call anybody within the company and to deliver, if shit breaks. So that's what enterprises need. And I think like deployments and support which is of enterprise grade is very important.
So now come back to this. It looks like you find the secret sauce. Congratulations for that, and I see the adoptions as well. Now you said you are chasing a metrics largely. Initially, I would say time to value and time to market, because that's what the enterprises also look for in AI world, and we also seeing the same. So you said initial from AI era, before AI era, which largely usually take for a complex integrations and multi-geography, or the heterogeneous systems, it's close to 6 to 8 months, largely. How did you reduced it? Especially, and if you can throw some light on this.
So that becomes an orchestration problem as well, because you're essentially reading data between multiple systems. So LLMs standalone can also do a lot of stuff. The problem is LLMs need context. They need to be aware of what's going on within enterprises. Enterprise systems, especially like SAP, Workday, are very customized. They're highly customized. So there could be, let's say, within SAP, a table with bill of materials with maybe 900 columns and like 6 different dates. Nobody knows the context of what that date means. Maybe it's in the head of somebody, it's not documented properly. So essentially we need to read that context across multiple systems. We need to orchestrate that data, bring it back into a single place, and then start interact with APIs and start writing integration code. So essentially it's a very complex problem at that side. Today system integrators do that in 6 to 8 months. They are human beings writing this manually, going through the systems. Now, agents are aware they can do that once they have the right context to do this.
Just to that point, right? You might have seen this Headless 360 from Salesforce, right? And then it's recent, like we are recording at that day. I mean, it's been a day only. Now tell me about what's your thought process. Let's assume a large enterprises, or maybe Salesforce, you call it for that matter, Workday. There are many, right? You're working with them. So I mean, what do you think about this era where they are talking about every systems being exposed via MCPs, CLIs, or let's say APIs, largely for the Headless systems they talk about? What is your thought, and where do you see that, and then where do you fit once these things are coming into play, and how the refold is coming?
No, great question. And sitting next to Salesforce Star, I think probably this is very relevant as well. So essentially, I see this change unanimous. It's great that Salesforce did it and they led it, and like, Benioff announced it in such a big way. And I guess probably their Slack acquisition is really paying off now, because people who are interacting with these system of records, or maybe software companies, essentially will become more agentic, will become more UI for agent is the new UI. And I think that is becoming more and more obvious. Now, with that, what we are seeing is the need for enterprise connectivity, enterprise orchestration going just exponentially faster. Every software company, especially the modern companies in Bay Area, are trying to become agentic. But those agentic systems need real-time data from multiple systems. So the existing integrations that were designed before before AI explosion is not meant to scale with this. It cannot scale. Integrations now are on demand, real time. They have to be fast, two-way, and it has to scale. So we see the need where we could play a much larger role.
So basically, you will be the the medium for the system of record to system of execution. That's what I am getting
Yes.
it. To make it much more faster, reliable, and a lot of ambiguity to remove, you are just doing agentic orchestration using your skills, memories, so that it will be more and more autonomous learning.
Yeah.
Largely, just comes to from like while you're doing it.
Yeah.
How did you and I'm sure that you have evaluated multiple platform and a system, and why you choose SimplAI over it?
Yeah, no, great question. We looked at several platforms.
And what's the
Essentially,
criteria as well? I mean, just like what you have been running in mind while
yeah,
doing it.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think one like there are several platforms available which are generally solving some of this problem in bits and pieces. But what we were looking for specifically was an enterprise ready system, because we work with enterprise data, and customers' data is very critical, very important to us. So essentially, partnering with somebody that understands this was important. We wanted to. So while looking, we came across several systems where maybe things could have they are open source platforms. There are some platforms like more AI first, like basically solving some parts of the orchestration pieces. But essentially, what we really wanted was the ability to make sure that the enterprises would trust the system, would trust the ability for us to deploy if we, as we start scaling. So yeah.
What's your top three criteria largely? I mean, in out of these, right?
Yeah.
Were you looking for security? Were you looking
Yeah.
for orchestration, compliance, governance, scale, or support?
Yeah.
If I ask about these six pillars that we work on,
Hmm.
I mean, what is your top three criteria while
Yeah.
you're choosing?
Yeah, I guess the most important thing would be security, because right now the data residency becomes very critical.
Yeah.
So hosting that data on private clouds and essentially being able to embed that on customers' air-gapped systems is very important to us. Then obviously, enterprise needs are very custom, so we need
Yeah.
that support as well at the same time to be able to scale with the dynamic requirements of enterprises. So that was a very important
So a
criteria.
lot of people, I think, while in AI era, they understand, hey, you just do quick, and then they just everything gonna be, done.
Yeah.
Largely, I think that's more important point to explain even for especially the enterprises audience, like I mean, how your team work on the ground with FD approach to make sure that largely they achieve that what they needed. If you can just give a glimpse, like these FDs works and they make the desired output rather than the vibe coding ones.
Yeah, so I mean, vibe coding is good for demo, right? It's great. Like you
Yeah,
can build
I
something
agree.
very quickly. You can build today like uh, uh, any integration platform or any system that you can think
Yeah.
of, just probably in a day, that can look exactly as a production system looks. But the problem is when it comes to deployment and you start working on that. So the forward deployed engineers first, work very closely with the enterprises. They understand their complex needs, translate that into actions that can be fed into agents, and then agents can reliably work. The most important part here is just testing these systems end to end and making sure that they work. So yeah, speed is really important, but the speed needs a platform that can deliver this. So vibe coding looks cool, but I think a governed vibe coding is probably what we were looking for.
So let's say, is it fair to assume that, let's say, these systems 80-20 ratio it works? Like you deploy the system, so base need will be fulfilled, and 20% customization would be needing based on customers' need and so on.
Yeah.
And is that fair to assume, or?
In some cases, in most cases, yes, it's 80-20. Like you build something for one customer that's very replicatable. Like some of the components could be used as it is, and those 20%
The team can
is
just go ahead and stitch it.
and they're stitching it. In some cases, it's exactly opposite. It's 2080. So
Just explain this scenario, because
So
from enterprises,
yeah,
it's much more successful scenario is fine, but
yeah,
very complicated scenario,
yeah,
if you can give some
yeah.
glimpse around.
Yeah. I mean, think of it this way: like SAP as an ERP system, as for HANA, when it works with maybe a company like Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, those two systems look completely different. They are in the same industry, selling the same product, selling the same SKUs, essentially just different labels. But you would think they look same, but the products are completely different. Like the way the ERPs are implemented are completely different. So in those cases, we are seeing 20% is just maybe shared between these systems, these companies, but 80% is dynamic. You're working with real, like custom fields where agents have to intelligently find what those fields are. They have to orchestrate behind the scenes how do you consume that data and then sort of like process it. So yeah, I mean, it depends on scenarios, but
So that give me another question. Let's say while you're selling these enterprises, who would be your ICP largely? Also, do you need, because we have seen certain patterns while selling and talking to them, is it a consultative approach largely, or it's like they are aware about the problem statement, or how it's
yeah.
happening on the ground?
No, great question, and this is something that we are thinking about it every day as well. So, essentially, we would like to be fully autonomous, but the nature of integrations, the way it is done today, is very human centric. Like there are consultants just sitting for hours and hours of work, build to enterprises, just doing the same thing. So we are something called human in the loop, where human beings are the drivers of this platform. Agents would do most of the work, but essentially on top of that, human beings would then guide it in which direction should it go. So our buyers or persona is typically IT teams or the CIO teams who understand multiple applications, have the urgent need or requirements from multiple business teams that, hey, I need this system to talk to that. It's constantly changing. There needs to be a flow of data between systems. So the CIO teams, IT teams become the user of end user of Refold.
So now you said, because let's say the interesting would be the 20-80%, which like 20% is there. Now these FDs, or let's say while you're talking to yourself or a team with the enterprises, do you work with the domain experts also? I believe, because the ERP system being developed a decade back, some of them are pretty old even, and nobody knows that what's really going inside, and even they are not even exposing, and a lot of things is happening.
Yeah.
So do you work with these domain experts also
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make it work like charm along with the FDs, or the FDs or these people are equipped enough to get to that level?
So the great question. The whole point of building this platform is that FDs should be able to, basically bring the knowledge of an SAP or a complex ERP system. Now, what we have done is we have partnered with system integrators, we have partnered with integration companies, and taken and trained our agents on a lot of data, a lot of integration data, where essentially past systems implementations on top of SAP, Oracle, is a baseline on top of which we have built agents. So the goal is that ultimately the agents become fully autonomous. They can exactly mimic what goes on in the head of maybe a consultant sitting at a GSI, building on top of these systems.
So that got me thinking another question.
Yeah.
Let's say you guys are doing this very in and out. What do you think, or maybe let's say what the future holds for the next 2 to 3 years? Because largely then you will have your agents deploying, and they have the larger context, and you will have multiple deployments by that time. What do you think that? And then to whom it gonna impact, and how it gonna be impact?
Yeah. I think first thing that I see is a lot of manual work, which is probably low level or repetitive, is going to become automated. Like just autonomous agents would just do and take over a lot of that stuff. In 2 to 3 years of timeline, I think, yeah, the way AI is going, probably every quarter feels like a decade right now.
Correct.
So we, a lot is just, up in the air. But I think there are certain things that we could take bets on, that essentially need of data connectivity would become exponentially high, because building has become easy. So there would be a lot of just-in-time software that will be created for very small use cases all across, and those softwares would need to talk to more softwares. So the way we see the role that we could play is that
So
you need the pipe in between most of these systems, and that's what we have.
So I think that's already there. I think you can use in SimplAI where agent creating agents and then
Yeah.
it runtime that you can
Exactly.
start doing. So
Yeah.
it's happening already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just to put in perspective. But I think just tell me, let's say once integration and that you guys been able to achieve, what you really thinking and what's the refold that gonna be changing? Let's say let's assume 3 to 5 years. What do you see?
Yeah, we see ourselves replacing system integrators in a lot many ways.
Oh,
Yeah, essentially, I mean, here's a very direct take on what I see. System integrators, when they solve a problem today, they don't care about customers. They want to, they care about how many billable hours can they add
but
uh,
is it
in
just to
their
cut you? I
time.
mean, is it still hold off? I mean,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
still we are sitting in a midst of,
yeah.
the where the agentic is going at peak, and is it still true?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, see, this is the classic innovator's dilemma. Incumbents will never change their core business model. Yes, they are doing, like, system integrators are doing a lot of Gen AI deployments as well. But the problem is, ultimately, things have to become exponentially faster than what they are, and that challenges their core business model today. So that's how we see. I mean, obviously, SIs do a lot of other stuff than just core integrations and core building. They bring the subject matter expertise to stuff as well, but there are certain areas where it's just repetitive work, and we feel that we could take a large portion of that business.
Great. Just one question is like, because while we seeing the initial adoption from your, we partnered as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you think about it, and what's your initial thought while you're doing it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I see the combination of orchestration and integrations going hand in hand when it is built for enterprise deployment.
Yeah.
Right. So I see a long-term future, because as I said, like we see, there are more, the problem of integration and orchestration is going to just explode right now. So, building a system that can scalably deliver this, I think that's how we look at it.
Great. I think that's very much excited for taking it to more further, more customers together, and winning the world with you. And I think that's we're gonna have more and more adoptions even it. The final question that maybe I would see that is like in you talked about future, you talk about current, and but largely say that in today's world right now means right now the things are being changing. I would say every month, every week, every quarter, drastic way. How are you coping it up? And then more or
Yeah,
less threat from let's say the bigger
yeah,
SIs.
yeah,
Again, of course, you
yeah.
answered it, but wanna take your honest look.
Yeah, yeah, no, this is very existential for all of us.
Yeah.
Every day, as CEOs, we have to think about what is it that we are basically bringing to the table. Like, will Claude,
Yeah.
will you be killed by
And
Claude?
of course, you are also getting a lot of questions for sure. So
Exactly. So when it comes to, so I think I have a very clear read when it comes to enterprise deployments. I think you need more structure around LLMs, and that's the whole point of what we are building and what you are building, right? That's how we see it. But yeah, it becomes very existential in terms of how these things are. You need to build moats. Like, are you collecting enough data from enterprises eventually? That can, in a closed system, but that can essentially become better on itself. Is there a mode that you bring to the table that general LLMs cannot solve? So yeah, that is something that we think about a lot every day.
most of AI is breaking in production, and we have seen. I mean, there are a lot of reports out there, but we've seen on the ground like AI is breaking, and there are multiple parts to it why they are breaking. But I would like to ask you, what do you see from that? I mean, from the adoption perspective, is it the same says that 95% of enterprises not able to adopt it in spite of billions of dollar gone into and a lot of people and effort gone into, and what do you see on the ground?
Yeah, no, great question, Sandeep. So basically, what we are seeing is the progress that's happening in AI is exponential, but the deployment is probably linear, because the moment you go into enterprise, you meet an entity which is infosec, procurement, deployment, IT. So there are several layers that you have to go through, and a lot of times things that look good in demo don't get really materialized when it comes to full scale deployment. Like, agents need the harness around it, they need workflows, they need integrations, they need the ability to reliably work at magnitude of scale. So that's why the adoption is definitely linear, I would say. And initially even we faced a lot of challenges. So while deploying to enterprises, we, like, whatever we showed in demo, we were doing in pilots was so fast. But when it came to really rolling it out for end customers, larger enterprises, things became all of a sudden slow. So yeah, it is a challenge. That's how I guess enterprise deployment is.
Oh, great, Jugal. Thank you. I think Jugal to having time with us, and we really appreciate and looking forward for the partnership to make it really big.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sandeep.
Thank you.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.